Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. I'm here with Timothy Bain.
But you can call me Timmy.
You can, and he actually lives here, so call him whatever it is you want to call him, because he's the one giving the hospitality. We are here at the Baha Mar, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes,
the Baha Mar Resort. The Miami Heat just wrapped up their first training camp practice. They're going to be actually here till Saturday. They've got practices Wednesday through Friday, of course, coming off of Media Day, so check out all the Media Day videos on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. But we're going to go through some of the themes here. Before we do, just to start, again, this is the 13th time in the Bahamas in the past 10 years?
2013, 2016, now 2022. So, of course, the first 2 times had the big three. Well, sorry, so it was a big three in 2013. It was the Hassan Whiteside max contract the second time. But
we don't like to remember that, actually. So you know what? They've only been here once before this. They were here. I was with them with the big three, and it was a different kind of team. They were coming off a championship that year, actually coming off of the Ray Allen shot. But obviously, look, the guys are going to get a chance to relax. The weather is better here than it is in South Florida right now, so that's a positive. And this is a team that largely knows each other. That's been one of the themes here. Obviously, everybody talks about running it back. No PJ Tucker. There are obviously some new additions. You talked to Jovic today.
Yeah, Jovic, even though he was limited in practice by Achilles, he said he still was able to run up and down, and he really wants to learn from Bam. Like, everything you ask him, it goes back to I want to play with and learn from Bam Adebayo. So let's look forward to that friendship happening over the years.
Okay, so let's start there. We'll make this the number one takeaway here. Everybody wants to play next to Bam. This is where we're at. We had Omar Yurtsevin on our podcast yesterday, and that's actually on the channel, and he made it clear right now that he thinks Bam is a 4. But why does he think Bam is a 4? And I asked about that today.
Because he's going to be the 5.
Right, because he wants to be the 5. We know that Caleb Martin, somebody else that we interviewed that's going to be on the YouTube channel as well, he's competing for the 4 spot. Max Strus said, if Jimmy doesn't want to play the 4 and start, I'll start at the 4. He's fine with that too. So there are a lot of options for the 4 spot. It depends on how Eric Spoelstra wants to play. And that's sort of the second thing we get to today. No Eric Spoelstra yet. The birth of his child, his 3rd child, his a daughter. So he will be here tonight. This is on Tuesday. We will hear from him either tonight or more likely Wednesday after practice. Chris Quinn ran the practice. But look, Timmy, there are a lot of options at that position, okay? And everybody talks about, well, we don't know what the Heat are going to do, but they can play small. We know that, and they can play big.
I really think it's going to end up being what we think it's going to be Jimmy as the 4. Even he'll be the 6'8" guy, but I still think it's going to be a combination of Strus and Hero starting, because Hero, and we even got to talk to Hero yet about his chemistry with Bam, but I think it's going to end up being Lowry, Jimmy, Strus, and Bam.
Even if Jimmy doesn't want to do it, I asked Udonis about that today, because he was an undersized 4 for a long period of time. He's a little bit taller than Jimmy. Jimmy doesn't want to play the 4, but again, I don't think that the labels matter so much on this team.
The team switches so much, it doesn't really matter. Like, you'll have Lowry guarding the 4 for most of the sessions, you know? Yeah,
so I don't think that'll be a big an issue. Now, Kyle Lowry, we did not hear from him today. It was one of the things that came out of training camp, Media Day, the first day that they're all together, that a lot of people didn't like Kyle Lowry's response when he was asked about Pat Riley's comments. We know that Greg Sylvander in our network said, I don't like this energy at all. I just do want to mention, though, I talked to some Heat officials last night about this, and they told me not to make too much of it. Here's my understanding of it from them. When Kyle Lowry came, the Heat understood that Kyle likes to do things his own way, okay? They know that. He's won a championship doing it, but also Pat Riley's going to say what he wants to say. What I was told is this isn't the kind of issue between Pat and Kyle that is going to linger. This is just basically Kyle saying, look, I was going to get myself ready because that's what I do. Now, they let him slip a little bit last year, and he had the personal issues he was dealing with. My understanding is one of the 2 issues he was dealing with, he's still dealing with, so it could become a problem this year, and they're going to be understanding of that. How do you view it? Because, again, it set off this kind of viral reaction yesterday when I posted the video of what Lowry said about Riley, and again, the Heat are downplaying it.
Yeah, no, I think it was very, like, I expected Lowry to come and say, yeah, I heard Pat, and maybe make a snark remark, like, to brush it off. I didn't expect him to go I didn't hear it, someone told me I was going to be in shape anyway. That just feels so very nonchalant and dismissive, and maybe he took umbrage to Riley calling him out. But I didn't expect it. I expected Larry to address it in his usual dry humor and then move past it.
And he didn't. And so, but we didn't hear from him today. Maybe we'll hear from him tomorrow. Another thing to look at, obviously, we talk about starting at the 4, playing into this a little bit, starting at the 2. I think my assumption has been that Tyler Hero, and they've said this, pretty much is going to get every opportunity to win that job. I do think it's interesting that Tyler has been so diplomatic after coming out and saying he wanted to start. Obviously, the extension is hanging over his head a little bit, but he hasn't really made an issue of either. He's kind of said the politically correct thing, so no problem there. I do want to ask you about one other guy I got a chance to talk to today, which was Duncan Robinson. Duncan acknowledged and that he was not the same guy last year. He looks back at his tape of his shots from the first couple of months of the season. He says, that wasn't me. He thinks the mental fed into the physical. I'll ask you this question. Are we ruling him out too quickly? I'm not talking about as a starter, but I'm talking about because everybody's assumed he was going to get traded or he's going to be out of the rotation. But if he's back to shooting in the mid-40s from three, even if his defense is suspect, he's going to play, right?
There are teams that literally would trade a first-round pick now, taking away Duncan's contract, a player who can consistently give you 40% from three. So I think we as in like the fans, I mean, you're so caught up in that big contract, and he has to start for this amount. But 10, 15 minutes gives you three threes a game. Like you can't beat that, you know.
Well, we'll see. I mean, because he's not going to play at the end of games. We know that. But I do think that Eric Spoelstra is going to carve out a role for him during the game. And here's the other thing. If you are looking to trade him, it's much more difficult to trade a guy who's out of your 9 or 10 man rotation than it is a guy who is
if you don't want him, why should we pay him? And those are that type of, so